Joining us today is Heather Harker, Deputy Commissioner Juvenile Justice, Department of Corrective Services WA, who'll be speaking at IIR's National Juvenile Justice Summit 2011, which takes place on the 9th to 10th of March in Melbourne. Hello Heather, thanks for joining us today.
Hello, nice to speak to you.
First of all, how has service delivery performance improved over the last 12 months?
Well, really quite dramatically, in many different ways, to be honest. We've had a particular focus on a whole raft of key performance indicators that have been developed for youth justice in Western Australia over the last 12 to 18 months. And a lot of those KPIs were focused around, if you like, the areas where we felt we were deficient in terms of service delivery, and also where we'd had, if you like, some critical sort of audits done, particularly the Auditor General, who 2 years ago looked at juvenile justice and came out with some fairly profound and really quite far-reaching recommendations that were relevant particularly to corrective services, but also relevant to a whole raft of other agencies that work in the juvenile justice field. So we've put these KPIs together, and I mean, already we're beginning to see some very, very significant improvements, particularly in terms of the quality of pre-sentence reports and the services that we deliver to courts, but also in relation to that face-to-face work with young people and their families, and approaching it from the point of view of having a more holistic approach, and you know, having I suppose a strong interaction that does focus on the young person as a complete entity, as I say, within their family and sort of peer network. So it's been a period of very significant change for us as far as the focus of our work is concerned. I think the other particular area of real improvement has been in relation to our regional youth justice services, which I spoke about at length at last year's conference. We've developed regional youth justice services in Geraldton and Kalgoorlie, so that's the Midwest of Western Australia and the Goldfields. So two of our big regions that have got a very significant Indigenous population and have got very remote communities to serve. And the progress that those services have made has been phenomenal. They've significantly reduced the number of young people being remanded into detention, almost, dare I say, down to nil. And people are being dealt with within the local community. So we've got a whole raft of, again, wraparound services that also support the statutory work that's going on there. So we've got supported bail provision, we've got youth support officers, and we've got very strong links with all the other agencies within the local communities. So really beginning to have a very significant impact in terms of working with young people and their families in those local communities.
Can you outline the applicability of the youth justice model philosophy into the development of services for 18 to 24-year-olds, the young adult facility?
This has been a really, I suppose, interesting piece of work, because you could usually assume that, you know, dealing with 18 to 24-year-olds, it would be just the adult services only that we would be looking at. But I think most people would accept that, you know, having age cut-offs like 18 is pretty artificial, really. And we've got some, you know, very, very immature 18 to sort of 24-year-olds, and equally so some, you know, quite mature 18 to 24-year-olds. So it's a really interesting cohort of offenders from a maturity point of view, and what that actually says about the kind of services you need to be providing for them. So I felt it was important that we don't lose the essence of what the Young Offenders Act here in WA says about how we work with young people. And that's, again, very much about working with them in a holistic way, you know, placing them within the context of their, you know, local environment, their family, and you know, seeing them as young people that are maturing, but, you know, throwing them straight at 18 into an adult system sometimes that is very alien and very threatening, doesn't necessarily help you to get the kind of results that you actually want with this particular cohort. So we are trying to, really focus on those areas of how we work with young people and link them through into working with this particular group. But at the same time, focusing on them being young adults, having to face up to, their responsibilities and be accountable for their behaviours. But as I say, see them in a broader sort of family and social context as well. In a way that I think traditionally within, if you like, the adult offender world, we tend to deal with, the individual almost sometimes in isolation from all the other things that are going on around them. And with this particular cohort, we don't want to do that. We want to see them try and approach the work with them in a very different way, focusing on their rehabilitation and reintegration needs very, very significantly. So it's a funny sort of boundary, as I say, is the age range. But I think it's about trying to get, the best of of how we want to work with young people and replicating it with this particular cohort.
Heather Harker, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.